will begin this way. Now, I am recruiting perhaps an unusual person to join my language police force. But maybe after you've heard him say one or two things, you might eventually come to a different conclusion. Anyway, it's my pleasure to welcome Frank Donga. Frank, don't give me that look.
No, I target the way you even say my name. I say my name is, I just say, ha, it's my name, I call that. Thank you, man.
My goodness me.
There's not a problem with that. If you want us to switch, and we can switch to the proper things. It's all good.
Oh.
We do that for the job and for the love of humor, and then we can always switch back to the proper thing.
I see. So actually you're a chameleon.
That's what my friends say.
Oh, really? Okay, Frank.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, that look, that's what I call it.
Okay.
I mean, there are various forms of comedy, but you somehow seem to have captured that look that seems to me like an understatement. I mean, it's a look that is blank, but at the same time expressive. Is it something that you picked up as you were growing up? Did you see other people giving these kinds of looks? Were they expressive in this way?
Maybe a bit of both. So I grew up watching cartoons. I'm a big fan of cartoons. I mean, I love cartoons.
Okay.
I'm actually also an illustrator, an animator myself, self-taught animator. So watching all these cartoon characters when I was young probably left some kind of impression on me. And then watching some kind of comedy also probably contributed to that. But above all, I think my parents. So I grew up in a Yoruba family from Oyo State, Ibadan to be specific.
Okay.
And we speak two languages in Ibadan. You speak the regular Yoruba and you speak sarcasm. And to survive as a little kid, you better know how to speak sarcasm. Because my father...
Now, that is interesting.
Yes.
But then, apparently, what you've been able to do is to translate the sarcasm, the verbal sarcasm, and you built it into a look.
Yeah. I mean, growing up as a child in Ibadan, if you were told by your parents to get a bucket of water from outside and bring it into the house, and you came into the house and say, I don't know where to put the bucket of water. I mean, your parents would probably tell you, put it on my head. And give you that flat, cold look.
Yes.
Like, figure it out. And if you went out on occasions or went visiting friends and family and they offered you something and you had been warned not to take food or treats from strangers, and you were about opening it and you remembered and looked at your parents for approval, they would probably give you that look while smiling and talking to the hosts. Look at you like, just try it. Just open that biscuit and eat it. You will see.
You would get the message.
Like, their facial expression. My parents, their facial expressions and their sarcasm growing up in Ibadan, I think contributed heavily to that.
Okay, so let's stay in Ibadan because there are some speech challenges that we are aware of that exist for Ibadan people. Okay. You would hear people saying f instead of v and v instead of f. I think you would also hear people saying s instead of sh or ch. Okay, now as an Ibadan man,
yes,
can you please tell us what is responsible for these, do I call them shortcomings or challenges? I don't know.
Nowadays we call them factors. You hear things like the H factor, the S factor.
Okay.
What's responsible, to be honest?
All right, you know what? I think maybe we can find one reason, one cause. If you have a look at this book,
yes,
turn to, I think it's page 21. Page 21, yes. You will see the Yoruba phonemes. Okay? The sounds that make up the Yoruba language.
Yes.
And at least if you look at the consonants at the bottom, you can see that there is a f sound, but there is no v.
No.
But that still does not explain why f becomes v and v becomes f.
Once you miss it at a particular age, I think it becomes a little more difficult. to imitate. That's why you might have people from certain parts of the country, especially where I'm from, say things like, my lame is, like I started the interview with.
Did you say my lame
My lame is, because the N became an L.
An L,
so
okay.
Sometimes it's just a switching around to my lame is because you heard it from somebody who pronounced it wrongly, or by default, the sound, like you said.
And you just assumed it was
and
right.
Just assumed. And you heard things like kusin.
Instead of cushion.
You hear things like sia.
Instead of chair.
You hear sob. That's a double whammy there.
Sob.
Instead of shop.
Shop.
Yeah.
Oh, so wait a minute. That double whammy is you added B at the end instead of P.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Maybe we should look at another aspect. A lot of comedians have really gone out of their way to turn the English language upside down. I mean, if I think of the way you started this discussion, okay? Now, I'm wondering whether it hasn't become rather an expensive joke. Because you see, young people are listening to you. They love you. They are your fans.
Yeah.
You know, they follow you on social media, etc., etc. These are the same people that are going to sit down to write examinations, my dear.
Yeah. Let's look at it from this angle. Let's not, look, sometimes these things are funny. They come across as funny. I don't know why. I didn't make the rules, but they come across as funny. But I guess it's just the attempt to, first of all, like many other careers or professions that mirror the society, like writers and authors, comedians, in a way, mirror the society, not necessarily creating the rules or are being responsible for what is happening. On the flip side also, like what I do, it might be a tool for education where I intentionally embody such a character who says all of these things for two reasons. One, to take the bullying edge, the embarrassing edge, the venom of such stigma.
Because it does exist.
Yes, because people now begin to stigmatize you, and then because they now begin to attach that to intelligence, like because you can't speak a language properly. I mean, look, there's some languages that if you learn later in life, you might not be able to pick up the pronunciation of such vowels. That helps.
So at home, last question.
Yes.
What do you speak at home?
For the most part, English with a good mix of Yoruba.
Frank Donga, thank you so much for honoring my invitation and spending this refreshing time with me.
Reporting for duty, ma. Sean.
There you go.
A lot of us actually do know the right thing to say, and we also we use it as a tool to educate, to tell people, if you don't know the right thing, you look like this, and people might laugh at you. So know both things.
Wonderful. I think that's a great place to end this conversation.
Thank you, ma.
Know the formal way to speak, and whichever way you want to be creative, fine, but know the rules before you break the rules.
To break a rule, you must first know it.
That's it. Okay. Thank you so much. Well, I began with a salute, so I'm going to end it with a salute.